Hello everyone, my name is Tunde and today we'll be looking at what data analysis is all about. The main three tools used for data analysis, which includes SQL, Power BI and Microsoft Excel. And also we'll be looking at other aspects which involves the career opportunities, why do we do data analysis and the likes. So let's dive right into it. Now I'll be giving you a general overview of what data analysis is all about. But first of all, we have to look at what data is. Data is basically a raw fact. Data can be anything. Data can be, the date on your phone. Data can be the time you get into a car. Data can be the location of a place that you're going to. Data can be the calories you must have burned through exercise for the past week. Data can be anything. Now, what is data analysis? Data analysis now deals with the systematic use of statistical and logical techniques in order to draw information and insights from a data set. Now, from these data sets, we have several processes involved before you can be able to carry out data analysis from start to finish. Now, the first step involves data collection. What is data collection? Data collection is just simply an act of having to get data sets from various sources, such as surveys, such as from databases and the likes. Now, after data collection, the next important step we need to look at is data cleaning, because we have errors that can be stored in data sets which we don't know of, but for you to get the accurate answers, the accurate insights from your data, you have to clean it to avoid errors. Now, once you're done with data cleaning, the next step is to perform data transformation. Now, data transformation simply means having to prepare your data for analysis, having to get it into a format that is able to become analytical, able to give easy access to whoever it is that is going to use it for any analytical process. Now, the next step is to model your data. Modeling your data means having to set up your data for getting insights and for understanding the patterns of insights in your data. Now, for the last step, which is data visualization. Now, I'm pretty sure that most data analysts would agree with me that this is the interesting part, because you get to play with charts, you get to, think of how you can show people with a layman knowledge on how to understand data, either in pie charts, in bar charts, in histograms, or in heat maps, whichever form you choose. Now, to the question, why do we do data analysis and why do we do business analysis? Now, here's why we do data analysis. We do data analysis because we need to understand insights. We need to get the technical aspects to information from a data. Say, for instance, right, you are in a hall and then you have several people in that hall. And then you want to try to know, okay, how many of these people are on native words and how many of them are on English words. So in this aspect, you're able to categorize what type of data you're trying to look at, and you're able to think about what information you can draw out from such data. Now, for business analysis, I like to call it a more specific aspect. I like to call it a more specific aspect, and the reason why is because you are focusing on the scope of just business. Now, this involves having to look at business data, including aspects of reports, including aspects of audits and all that stuff, whereby you are able to get a lot of insights on how the business is performing, what the customers are saying on the product, the kind of recommendations that they would need to be able to use your product well and want to say the word of marketing to other people and all that. That is why we do business analysis. So the next question is, why study data analysis? There are a lot of reasons why people study data analysis, but one of the first reasons why you study data analysis is because you want to improve your analytical skills. It's one thing to be able to look at a data, and it's another thing to be able to tell what a data means. So this is one of those reasons why we study data analysis. Another reason can also include career opportunities. In data analytics, there are several career opportunities which include business analysts, which include data analysts, which includes research analysts and the likes. Now, in these career opportunities, right, they have different requirements, although it depends on how well you are able to understand the scope or the field you are looking to work into, and then that would decide this type of role that you should, put your focus into. So now we're going to look at the career paths and trends that are stemming from the data career titles. First of them, we have the data analyst. Now, what does a data analyst really do? A data analyst is a person who tries to understand the trends, tries to understand the patterns in the data, tries to bring out the technical aspects surrounding a data. Because why? They're trying to make an informed decision on what to do and how to go about it. Now, we also have the business intelligence analyst. For the business intelligence analyst, this is a person who is able to understand what kind of decision the business has to take before launching a product or before going to do market research. These are the things that a business intelligence analyst would do, and not just that alone, they are also going to use insights from their data to present to stakeholders. And not just that, business analysts are the people who still get to bring out the trends and patterns, present it to the stakeholders so they can have a common ground for making decisions. Now let us get into the tools for data analysis. And in this aspect, I'll be talking about the uses of each data analytical tool. I'll be talking about the installation process, and I will also be talking about an overview of this data analytics tool. So the first on my list is Microsoft Excel. Now, Microsoft Excel is a very common data analytical tool that all companies and all individuals make use of when they're trying to analyze data. Now, it's a very easy tool to make use of, which of course explains why it's a very common tool. And not just that, it has several capabilities and functionalities that is able to get data analyzed. Most of those reasons are what include easy aspects of cleaning your data, easy aspects of entering your data, and then having to create pivot tables, having to create charts and graphs. They are all easy steps to carry out in Microsoft Excel. Now, next on my list is the structured query language. Structured query language, popularly known as SQL, is a tool that is used for drawing out insights, drawing out patterns, used to create data tables, databases, and also being able to query a data set. Now, SQL is a very powerful tool. Now, why do I say it's a very powerful tool? It's very powerful because it has a vast amount of data that it can analyze, which involves thousands and thousands of rows and columns. Unlike Microsoft Excel, where you have to struggle with several rows and columns, and you have to deal with the aspect of looking in between the lines to try and get some certain type of information. Now, for SQL, this is an upgraded version of how you can be able to analyze your data, analyze it properly with getting the precise facts. Now, to some of the uses of structured query language, one of them is querying databases. Now, to query a database means to ask a database a question and tell that database to fetch a certain type of data that will help you make your informed decision. We also have data manipulation too, whereby you try to create tables, you try to alter tables in your data sets. We also have data wrangling and the likes too involved in the use of structured query language. Now, the last but not the least analytical tool is the Power BI. Now, if you would agree with me, Power BI is one of the most popular tools, even currently used amongst data scientists and data analysts. Now, why is it very common? It's very common because it gives a very easy to use and intuitive interface for visualization of data. Now, one of those things that is very crucial for a data analyst to do is that after you clean your data, after you're modeling, after you've transformed all that needs to be done, you need to be able to communicate this data information or data insights to the stakeholders or to the layman to be able to understand what you have done so far. Now, Power BI is one of the go-to tools for such. Now, the reason why it's the go-to tool for such is because it has several capabilities for visualizing data. Now, it's also able to combine data from various sources to be displayed into a chart. Alright, now let's jump into my computer and show you how to install these softwares. First off, we have Microsoft Excel. So from my PC, I'll be accessing my Microsoft Store. And if you are using iOS devices, you have to go to your App Store to be able to get your Microsoft Excel. So I'll type in Microsoft Office because it's not a standalone product, it's Office. You can get it with your Office tool. Now I'll go right into Microsoft 365 Office. I have that installed already, but let me show you how you can also get it for yourself on your devices. Now once you click on Microsoft 365 Personal, right, it takes you to the screen whereby you are able to purchase the Microsoft Office to be able to use the Microsoft Excel tool. Alright then, so since I already have my Excel installed on my laptop, I'll just go right into opening it so you can see how the interface looks like. So here's my Excel workbook, and I'm about to open a blank sheet so you can see all that it entails, right? So right here we have our ribbon where we have our home tool, we have our insert, we have our page layouts, we have our formulas where you can perform your analytical processes the more. We have our data here, we have review, we have view, we have the developer aspects, right? And then we also have the Acrobat aspects where you create and share for a report. So here's what the interface looks like. Here are your rows and your columns, right? Here are your formatting tools for your data, right? And then this is basically what you would expect to see after you have installed your Microsoft Excel. So if you were to enroll in a course, you'll be able to understand how to now use this analytical tool for carrying out data analysis properly. Alright, so I'll be moving to the next tool, which is Power BI. Now, still from the same Microsoft store, we can be able to get our Microsoft Power BI tool. From the search bar, you type in Microsoft Power BI to get your Now from the search bar, you type in Microsoft Power BI to get your tool, and you can see it right here, Power BI Desktop, which is what I'll be going to. So now you can see this is the Power BI page of installation from the Microsoft Store itself, where you have the description. You can see here the screenshots of what it's like to make use of this tool for your visualization and data modeling processes. So there's a button right here. So when you click on it, it begins the installation process. As you can see, it says starting download. So while this is still downloading, I'm going to minimize now and show you how to install SQL. Now, for SQL, right, there are several tools to work with when it comes to SQL. And the reason why is because SQL has to deal with tables, and there are other parts which does not deal with table. Now, for the parts whereby you have to deal with table involving columns and rows, you mostly make use of MySQL, right, or PostgreSQL. But for parts of data analytics whereby you have no tables to analyze, but rather you just have details, you are mostly going to use NoSQL. Now, NoSQL means that there is no structured table, there's no structured database. So NoSQL is the tool that will be used for analyzing a database that is not in a row or column. So in my browser here, I'll type in MySQL so that I can access the workbench and download it to my system. So here you have it, MySQL workbench, and it's indicated here that this is a database design graphical tool. It's also used to provide environments whereby you can create your databases, you can be able to perform server configurations and other tools, other processes rather. So I'll click on download now so I can be able to get it on my device. Right, so here we can see my SQL workbench, and you have the information concerning it, where you have the design, the develop, administer, visual performance dashboard. But this is not what you are going to be focusing on. We are going to be looking on how to get the app itself into our system. So right here we see my SQL workbench download now button, which is what I'll be clicking on. So once I've done that, let's see what we have next. So in this next page, it tells me to choose my operating system. That is if I'm using a Microsoft Windows, if I'm using Linux, if I'm using a Mac OS, or I'm using a Red Hat Enterprise Linux, or probably Ubuntu. So I'll choose my Microsoft Windows, which I'm using. Now here you see the installer for its 64 bits for the systems using 64 bits, not for 32 bits. So if you're using 32 bits, you have to specify, because it comes in both 32 and 64 bits installers. So right here on the right, okay. So right here, I'm going to see the download button, which I'm going to click on to begin my download process. So once I click on that, I should be able to get my SQL Workbench into my system. So to get into that aspect, you need to log in or sign up for a web account. Now, if you don't want to go through that process, you could just say, no thanks, just start my download, which you can see the option here. So I'm going to click on that to skip the login process and have it downloaded on my system. So now I'm going to open the SQL Workbench so I can get it installed and I can walk you through the installation process. So you can see here, welcome to the setup wizard. I'm going to click on next after reading my setup instructions, and I've chosen my directory folder to have it installed in. Now you're going to choose complete, whereby you need all the features of the MySQL Workbench to be installed in. Except if you know what you're doing, and except if you probably need MySQL Workbench for some certain type of use, you can then choose custom. But for this particular process, I'll be choosing complete. So I'm going to click on the next button, and I'll also review my setup settings. If I'm okay with what I've done so far, I'm going to press the install button and have it installed on my system. So you can see that the status has begun, and we'll just have to wait for it to get installed. Okay, now that we have installed our analytical tools, we can now begin to start our data analytics processes, how we want to get it carried out, and how we can want to perform other activities on it also too. So now that you have a general knowledge of what data analytics is all about, the tools used for data analytics, and you would like to go more into how to become a data analyst, a business analyst, a research analyst, a certified business intelligence analyst, or a research analyst, check the link in the caption below to know how to get started on your data analytics journey with us now.